All right, in this explainer, we're going to do something a little different. Instead of looking at an article or a study, we're going straight to the source itself, the 2019 federal indictment against Jeffrey Epstein. Our mission here is to really deconstruct this document, to pull it apart so we can all understand exactly what the US government was alleging. Okay, so let's dive right in. What you're looking at here is the real deal, the cover page of the formal charges filed by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. You know, this single document, this is the very foundation of the entire government case. It lays out a really detailed and frankly disturbing narrative of their allegations. And right away, the prosecution begins with this incredibly direct and powerful statement. I mean, there's just no ambiguity here. Right from page 1, the document makes it crystal clear just how immense the gravity and scope of these allegations are. It's like they're strategically framing absolutely everything that's about to follow. Now, this is an absolutely crucial point to understand. An indictment is not a guilty verdict. It doesn't mean conviction. All it means is that a grand jury reviewed the evidence presented to them and decided, okay, there's enough probable cause here to believe a crime was committed and to bring charges. So it's really important to remember that everything we're about to go through are the formal allegations from the government, not facts that were ever proven in a court of law. All right, so let's get into the charges themselves. The prosecution's entire legal argument is really built around two central counts. You can think of these as the very core of their entire case. Okay, so what are they? Well, you've got count 1, which is all about sex trafficking conspiracy. This focuses on a coordinated scheme, right, working with other people. Then you have count 2, sex trafficking of minors. This one alleges the specific underlying act itself. So this is where the document kind of shifts gears. It moves away from the dense legalese and starts laying out a really detailed narrative. It describes the alleged mechanics of the entire operation, painting a picture of a systematic, almost factory-like process. And the indictment is just so stark when it comes to the victims' ages. It alleges that some victims were as young as 14 years old. And crucially, it also alleges that he intentionally sought out minors and knew that many of his victims were in fact under the age of 18. That element of knowledge is key here. The indictment then alleges there was this clear 4-step pattern. First, victims were recruited, usually to provide massages. Then, step 2, those encounters would escalate into sexual acts. Step 3, they were paid, often hundreds of dollars in cash. And then step 4, and this is so crucial, they were incentivized with cash payments to go out and recruit other girls, which is how the prosecution says this vast network of underage victims was created. Now, what's fascinating is that the prosecution's case wasn't limited to just one location. Not at all. They went to great lengths to detail what they describe as parallel operations running at the same time, hundreds of miles apart. And this comparison really gets to the heart of the prosecution's whole argument. Take a look. They allege that the exact same method, the recruitment for a massage, the escalation, the cash payment, was happening at both the Manhattan Mansion and the Palm Beach estate. The implication is that this wasn't random at all. It was a consistent, thought-out, bi-coastal operation. Okay, now this is absolutely critical for that conspiracy charge. The indictment alleges that Epstein didn't act alone. It refers to several unnamed employees and associates who allegedly helped facilitate the whole scheme, by scheduling the appointments and, in some cases, even contacting the minor victims directly. So the big question is, how did the prosecution plan to actually prove this conspiracy? Well, to do that, they had to list specific actions that were taken to move the scheme forward. In legal terms, these are known as overt acts. Now, an overt act can be something as simple as making a phone call or sending an email. The act itself doesn't even have to be illegal. The prosecution's goal here is just to show a jury that the alleged conspirators weren't just, thinking about a crime. They were actively taking concrete steps to make it happen. So the indictment's first example of an overt act involves someone they call Minor Victim 1 in New York. The prosecution alleges she was brought into the scheme, she was abused, and then she was paid to go out and recruit other girls. They're basically presenting this as a textbook example of the conspiracy in action. And then the document details a nearly identical situation, this time with Minor Victim 2 down in Florida. You see what they're doing here? By presenting these parallel examples, the prosecution was trying to demonstrate a consistent and intentional pattern of behavior, one that spans different locations and different years. And this next allegation is absolutely crucial. See, to prove the charge of sex trafficking of minors, the prosecution had to show the defendant knew the victims were underage. So this overt act is cited as direct evidence to establish that specific knowledge. Okay, so the final section of the indictment shifts its focus. It's not about the alleged crimes anymore, but about the financial consequences the government planned to seek if, and it's a big if, they were able to secure a conviction. It's called a forfeiture allegation. And to put it simply, it just means that if the defendant were found guilty, the government would have the right to seize any property and any assets that were connected to the crimes. It's a really powerful tool, and the idea is to make sure that criminals don't get to profit from their illegal activities. And the document makes it really clear. The government was targeting any and all property connected to these alleged offenses, but they zeroed in on one asset in particular, the huge multi-story mansion in Manhattan. It was specifically named as a primary target for forfeiture, identifying it as a central hub where these alleged crimes took place. So, of course, we all know this case never actually went to trial. And because of that, all of the powerful allegations within this indictment were never proven or disproven in court. And that leaves all of us with a really difficult but important question to think about. When the legal process gets cut short like this, how do and how should history treat the powerful and incredibly detailed allegations that are contained in a document just like this one?